Alright, welcome back ladies and gentlemen to the Chupacabra's Lair. I'm your host, Larry the Chupacabra, and we're back for another round of Larry Does Ludum with Ludum Dare 36, and today I'm going to be doing a little showcase video. Wan, one of the guys who runs and hosts Ludum Dare every year, has reached out to all of the people that did streams and YouTube videos and stuff, and asked us to do a little showcase video, sharing with you guys and gals out there our picks for some of the top Ludum Dare games that we think everybody should play, our top picks, because for Ludum Dare 36, this particular one, we don't have a rating system because the old system was getting abused, so this is kind of their way of reaching out and showcasing some of people's favorites. So my first pick, this is going to be a 5-part, 5-section video. My first section is my pick for my #1 choice of the theme, which was ancient technology, and we're going to be taking a look at On Fire, which is made by Diet Ribs, probably I think is what they're going for there. And this is a little story about a caveman who, back before we kind of realized what science did and how to not light ourselves on fire, due to hunger and famine and being cold all the time, one brave caveman discovered fire by playing with sticks and, not knowing how fire works, brought fire to his people by lighting himself on fire and sacrificing himself, which started a long tradition of cavemen dying to bring fire to the village. And yeah, that's about all there is to it. It's basically, you can move around and jump with either WASD or arrow keys, and you can combust your body into a fireball if you need to shoot your fire for a distance. So they didn't have super advanced technology like refrigerators, but they did have Dragon Ball Z Kame wave things. Alright, so here we are inside of the game, and as you might imagine, we are a cute little stick figure style caveman, and unfortunately, we have found ourselves on the wrong side of a game of playing with sticks. And we are now the sacrificial lamb chosen to bring fire to our people, and it's pretty simple and straightforward. We're on fire, burning to death, and when the fire reaches 0 and it runs out of fuel, i.e. our flesh, then we have to either hit something that's flammable or pass it on to a new caveman. And I thought this was a pretty good pick for the theme of ancient technology. What better to showcase ancient technology than with the very first technology before cavemen had mastered any real science, which was fire. Fire is probably the original. Fire or bashing things with rocks. Maybe bashing things with rocks. And it's essential for human survival to be able to cook our food. I think it's actually like ingrained into the way that humans developed over time, in fact. And it's pretty clean. It's a pretty clean, straightforward, and really goofy and humorful platformer where it's just passing along the flame so that you can bring it to your village. And you just gotta pass it off to either cavemen or try not to run out of fuel before you burn everything. It can be a little bit tricky though. I mean, that's what you get with different Ludum Dare games. There's not a lot of time to perfect and to bug fix. Certainly not. And some of the controls can be just a little bit floaty or a little bit hard to time, and the rest of it can be a little bit difficult to figure out because you gotta just play it by ear. There's no instructions, there's really no hints or tips or anything. You just gotta go for broke, and that's all you've really got. Like this one I think is supposed to be a torch relay, where you gotta go to that guy down below with the tree in order to pass along the fire. Doesn't always work though. Like right here. You'd think that that's what you're supposed to do, but then the fire runs out really quickly. But otherwise, I liked this one, and I thought this was the best ticket for ancient technology, because you just can't get more ancient than fire. Alright, next up on our little showcase adventure, we have my choice for overall graphics package, and that is KMF by Polyknight Games. It's a jam entry, and it's one of the other really ancient pieces of technology that we have here, and that is fishing. So if we go ahead and click to start, well, I guess it skipped it here, but it basically tells you in the blurbs for this game that fishing is thousands and thousands of years old, and it is one of mankind's most ancient of industries. And this is a game that takes you in an old rough-hewn boat and has you cast a fishing reel, which is surprisingly really well programmed for all of the physics, and then you have to reel in various fish that have some randomly, they're not procedurally generated, but randomly selected features, and then later we go on a little bit of a philosophical adventure once we get 3 of them. And I just like that this is a very clean, well-defined package for KMF. If you look around, the graphics aren't killer. You know, this rod and reel doesn't exactly have a bajillion polygons to it, but the whole thing fits together, and it seems like it was made by the same person or the same group of people. It's cohesive. It looks like a really good general package. And again, surprisingly, this rod and reel business here, where you try to reel in some fish, is really intuitive and tactful and works really well even for my little trackball mouse. And hey, we got one of the fish that I was hoping to get to illustrate what the humor is in this game, too. So we have to fill up those 3 little fish tanks, or little fish globes, with different fish, and then we have to pick one to marry, and we have to pick one to kill, and we have to pick one to use as bait. So here we have the Aristotle. What is a friend but a single soul dwelling in 2 fish bodies? And this game gets oddly philosophical and just out of the blue, like you just have no choice when you're out fishing, especially in olden days, than to think about life and what it means. Back before we knew that the meaning of life was like 46, or what was it from Hitchhikers? One of those things. Or it could just simply be the game developers stating their opinion on Phil Fish. You suck. So we're gonna murder Phil. And then we could marry the bro fish. I mean, these are basically the same fish, but this is the poor torque, the result of genetic engineering, who only wants to get hard with his buds. A real buckaroo will marry you and use you as the bait. And that's really KMF. And I like this game because it really reminds me of the minimalism of games like Shadow of the Colossus, where I could see myself going out and hunting giant fish, Shadow of the Colossus style, in a boat to sort of appease Poseidon so I can marry his daughter. And of course, that's the Kanye West fish. He really likes fish sticks. I'm not sure if you knew that. The downside to this game is, you know, you very quickly, even though there's a decent number of fish that you can get, you very quickly end up getting the same fish like over and over again. So you have to spend a fairly decent amount of time to capture them all. And I kind of just wish that you could kind of roam around and explore this world a little bit more, but for what it is, it's a fishing simulator. You fish, you have a little philosophical bit of humor with each one of these different creatures, and then you get to marry and hump one of them. There's also a kawaii fish, which is adorable because it gets all embarrassed when you say that you're going to marry it. So very nice job again, Polyknight Games. This one, I think, has been my overall favorite, because this one I was actually able to sit down at the end of a long day and just listen to the nice music and relax. So good stuff from these guys. Okay, so after the graphics category, and I think you're starting to see a trend that these categories don't necessarily follow the standard logical flow of like graphics, sound, theme, and whatnot, the next category that I selected is the Weirdness category, or just the Stranger Things category, where there's been a number of games that have thrown their hat into the retro ring with retro technology like floppy drives and old VHS tapes and things of that nature. And this is my favorite out of those. It's a 2.5D shooter called Channel 83, and it's done by... I'm not going to try and pronounce this. It's S01110S. It's like a little robot face is the name. And this is a game that's all about kind of like the old school hacker genre or cyberpunk, where we've got this old VHS TV going between an old Gladiator movie and some John Wayne, and I don't even know what some of this other stuff is. And then you can just kind of get stuck in a loop, and you just start spamming the button, and suddenly you get sucked into Channel 83, the world of last-gen entertainment. And it's like a really old-school Duke Nukem style 2.5D shooter where you have to avoid... It looks like Reagan with a cigar trying to come over and touch your butt. Either that or it's James Bond. And you go through this strange techno-digital world, trying desperately to escape, and most of the challenge, aside from the weird, like, cyber demon type of theme going on here, is that it's really hard to kind of, like, strafe around and watch your back. Normally, in a shooter like this, you'd have controls with your mouse, and then you could strafe from side to side and actually see who's trying to sneak up behind you. So you really gotta almost do this breach and clear style, where you check the corners of the room so that Ronald Reagan doesn't try to fondle you. And it can be tricky, I will say that. It murdered me quite a few times, and it doesn't seem like there's any checkpoints in here. There's just getting back to the beginning, and then starting over from scratch, kind of like rewinding time to just do a little bit better the next time. Ah, see, there you go. Ronald Reagan pinched my bottom, and I got scared. And I thought this was just a decent sort of look at a retro 2.5D shooter. I always like 2.5D shooters, especially when they take you into an interesting world. And this is almost like a bizarre Tron world, like somebody took some Kid Pix art and started putting it together with some of the default like soccer ball textures for the linoleum flooring here. I thought this was interesting. It's got a weird feel to it. The other game that I checked out for the weird category, which is sort of tied for the weird category, is what I will show you next. Okay, so tied for the third category of strangeties is the late fee, which is made by Hijalt 500, and this is it's a bullet hell shooter, or at least it looks and feels like a very retro bullet hell shooter, and the story here is we are just a average, run-of-the-mill spaceman simply wanting to go to the local Blockbuster or video store so that we can return our VHS tape. Unfortunately, we're being attacked by marauding space pirate sharks and probably cat people, and I guess they just really like to play with the tape inside of a VHS tape, so we have to go and murder our way through them. And so that's what we got. We can list back and forth and shoot like crazy cyber demon monkey things and sharks with a frickin' laser on its head that laser guides the missiles. Oh, it's crazy. And eventually, you'll wind up at the boss that you need to defeat if you want to reach the video rental store. And don't let my performance right now fool you. I was having a terrible time of this earlier because I am generally not the best at bullet hell shooters. Turns out, drunkenly listing from side to side, as a spaceman looks like a big daddy from BioShock, works out pretty well when you're not trying to concentrate on what you're doing and just provide meaningful feedback. And this is a pretty standard bullet hell shooter. It's a crazy mayhem of things that I thought fit really well into the weirdness category, especially once we manage to get to the boss, because I don't know if you've ever watched my stuff before, and we can actually skip right to the boss, but I have a tendency of talking about, well, nipples in some of my videos in the past, and this giant feline-looking space gremlin demon, well, if you want to murder it, you've got to shoot it right in the nipples. So you get these bloody nipple cups that weaken it so that you can blow its brains out. And you also got to avoid being swatted like a piece of yarn or string, because that's what gets you murdered. There we go. And I almost got to beating this guy. It's not super complex, which I appreciate, because bullet hell shooters, we mean hell is right in the name. It's kind of assumed that they're going to be devilishly hard. And this one, a little bit easier, a little bit less punishing to my face, and I appreciate that. I'm gonna get you, dang it. But I liked this game. My only qualms is I just kind of wish it had some crazy weird power-ups like other bullet hell shooters, and that maybe the scale was just a little bit smaller so that I had more room to maneuver, or I could hit like spacebar to activate a jetpack, but I liked it. This one and Channel 83 were my favorites for the weirdness category. Alright, next up for the fourth category of games, we have Write Only by Crimson Cookie, and this category is all about my favorite narrative, because not a lot of games that I had a chance to look at for this particular jam had narratives, so I always look out for one or two of them. And Write Only is a retro-inspired narrative that combines the ancient technology of the 3x5 floppy, the 3.5-inch floppy, and the idea of humans wiping themselves out and being replaced by their robot creations, which only want to live in the intended image or, like, followings of their masters, the humans, but the humans didn't leave any instructions. They had to find it themselves. And so here we go. Got a sort of Star Wars style intro here. Humankind is long extinct, replaced by the race of artificially intelligent robots that they created in their image. For centuries, they have picked over the ruins of human civilization, searching for hints to the intentions of their creators, something to give their lives meaning. Religions rise and fall. One such religion has most holy relic, an ancient storage device. A single commandment inscribed on the face, Colin stuff, do not touch. And they have pledged to prevent anyone from viewing it, but unfortunately, a new heretical sect of robots has found a 3x5 floppy reader, and they're hell-bent on viewing it. So enter Write Only, which is, we are a religious cultist, I guess you could say. We're a cute little robot man. And we need to defend the floppy, the holy floppy, from all of the unbelieving robots. And we have to shoot them. So we have two modes. We can run around really fast by default with 5 hearts. And then we can right-click to pull out our little blasting arm and start nailing all of these robots in the face. Takes 3 shots to kill most of them, unless they shoot themselves in the navel. And then we can progress on. Trick is to just try and use cover as much as possible. And shooting from the edge of the screen is the best thing that you can probably do. I've not really finished this game. It can be really difficult, which I come to expect from generally any shooting game. I'm really not the greatest shooter person, but I do enjoy them from time to time. And I just like the idea for this narrative, aside from the fact that it's one of only 2 or 3 games that I've played that had any type of narrative whatsoever, that robots being built by humans would succumb to our own flaws and fight over religious issues. And it plays pretty well. It's a little unforgiving, but there's lots of cover that you can use, and unlike a lot of games I've played, the enemy can actually shoot each other. So everyone is up for grabs for shooting. Nobody is safe, and if you can bait the AIs together into shooting at you but missing, they will oftentimes shoot one another, which is a really handy mechanic. I always really liked games that let the AIs kill each other. Because there's just not enough of them. It makes sense for a really in-depth and dynamic world. Fortunately, I am definitely not doing very well. You need to not say words at the same time as you try to kill robots in the future with a pellet gun. Who knew that it wasn't just like going after squirrels with a pellet gun? So my qualms with this are, I like it on those levels. It's got a nice little graphical package. Everything feels very retro, inspired, and styled. It's just awfully unforgiving. Especially because all the robots, like the second you come into range, they're just aware of you. I feel like I should have the chance to like sneak up on them and get the drop on them and shoot their pants off. But I just never quite got that. Might also be nice if I could get some health back. Maybe occasionally they drop their circuit boards so I can steal their organs. You know what? I'm just gonna bust through here. You can't catch me, I'm the gingerbread man. La la la, frolicking through the wind and the snow. Whee! I guess we won't get to see the Holy Floppy, but, you know, nice job, Crimson. I thought this was pretty good, even though it takes quite a bit of my concentration to get pretty far. I just liked that opening. It was like a very Star Wars space opera introduction. So nice job on that. Just, you know, refine the gunplay so I get a chance to react before everything with a laser Cylon visor tries to shoot my face off. Because I don't have a lot of face. We're immortal robot beings. I need all of my face to survive. Dang it. And I'm just not given the opportunity to do so. Alright, they're gonna hide behind there. I'm gonna get the pants shot off of me. Come on. Frickin' die. Alright, well, I got that guy. Good enough. Alright. So, last but certainly not least is Larry's overall favorite for best package for the Ludum Dare 36 Ancient Technology theme, and that is Caveman Story. Sort of a play on words to kind of make a little bit of fun at Cave Story itself. And, well, Caveman Story, as I'm sure you have probably guessed, is a story about a cute little caveman who goes around bashing things with his club. And Caveman Story is created by Culture Bosch Games, and I thought it was pretty good. I mean, you can't get... Well, I mean, you can get more ancient than just bashing rocks with, like, fire, but I think a lot of people bashed rocks before they made fire. And so we start out this game with our friend... I'm just gonna name him Oog. And Oog is like, we gotta get back to the village, man. Like, I got this meat, I bashed, I think it was a cat to death, and like, ham came out. And we need to get back to the cave, and the only way that we can do that is by bashing our way through all of these rocks. And cavemen, being very blunt about their interactions, are all about just bashing rocks until the right number of rocks come down so that they can get home with their sweet, delicious meal and snoo their wives. And probably someone else's wife and maybe a couple of animals. I don't know, cavemen live crazy cave lives. They're a little bit of a swinger culture. And I just liked how this felt the most immersive of all the games that I played. The most together as a cohesive package that had an end goal of getting somewhere with just a little bit of a tish of a story. And oh yes, also the Dark Souls reference was definitely a major plus for your pal Larry. And he even references all of the Dark Souls stuff. I feel like I might be in the wrong game. Oh, I just liked the humor of this. It was a nice little package with a cute little Easter egg. So I really liked that. And so the goal of Caveman Story is you gotta just bash rocks in various different orientations or reset the level if you bash them in the wrong configuration like I just did, because there's this weird magical crystal down here which unlocks the achievement Unfinished feature. I always like it when people get a little bit too over, like, they think they can do too much stuff in one game jam. Get a little carried away, a little ahead of themselves, and then they end up running out of time, and then they have like a half-finished feature, and I always think it's hilarious when they leave it in and just poke fun at it for later. So this room, we've got to move a bunch of different, like, cave murals in order to stack them so that we can get the flip out of here. Not a crazy complicated puzzle, but a nice, just sort of stacking and logic block object puzzle. And I kind of like that, you know? You don't have to get super duper crazy in order to achieve your end result. Now, the one thing I could have or would have liked to see in this game, because we're a caveman, and one of the things that cavemen do is we bash things. We bash living things, and we just don't give a flying hoot. Maybe we do give a flying hoot. We might have those just, you know, in our cave houses. But we don't just give a flying hoot about anything. I thought it would have been nice. It might be a little further into the game, further than I've gotten so far. But there might be some creatures in here that we can bash, but I don't think presently that there's anything in the game that we can murder. Besides ourselves, by getting stuck. Or maybe getting trapped under a rock. I've never tried it, but that might be possible. Let's see if we can get crushed. Nope, it doesn't let you move right after that falls down. But I would have liked some physical real-world threat of dying on top of simply messing up a puzzle. And maybe some more dynamic stuff to do for puzzles, like, I'm a caveman. I'm sure there's all sorts of hijinks that I could get involved in, besides just bashing things with a club as my piece of ancient technology. But again, time constraints with a game jam are understandable. What I can say is this is one of those games that I would encourage you, the creators, a part of Culture Bosch Games, or Bosch Games, to finish this, because I think you've got a good foundation here to just add in some more mechanics, some more objects that you have to deal with, like maybe saber-toothed tigers or mammoths charging, and you have to somehow combine the mammoth stomping on the ground in order to get it to, like, knock down an object so that you can push it into a chasm somewhere or some such. That would be pretty cool. Otherwise, it's a good package. You've got good gameplay, you've got a cute little caveman, the art all looks cohesive, there's good sounds to stuff going on. Just a bit of refinement, some extra stuff, and I think you'd be good to go. So very nice job, and this is my overall pick for my overall favorite of, like, just stuff to do in an immersive game for Ludum Dare 36. So very nice job, Culture Bosch Games. I am going to put together a little token for you gentlemen, or gentlemen and ladies, so that you can have it on your profiles for Larry's pick for #1 Ludum Dare 36 showcase game. So congratulations to you guys, and to everybody who I've reviewed. I have gotten through like a couple hundred games, I think like over 300 actually, to make this showcase, and I'm going to be doing a couple more videos going through some of the games and giving my more in-depth feedback on what's going on. But these have been my top 5-ish, 6-ish games for Ludum Dare 36. You can find the links to these games in the video description, and possibly also in the posting that Wan is going to be putting up on the Ludum Dare site. So check them out for yourselves, and please let me know in the comments what games you guys have found as your favorites. I'm very curious to know, and I hope you've all had a wonderful Ludum Dare experience so far, and hopefully Mike can figure out a wonderful new website and system so that we can continue off into the future. So enjoy these games, everybody. Congratulations to the people that made it into my top 5-ish, 6-ish games. And I'll try to actually make a category badge for everybody now that I think about it. So I'll look for those in the coming days, and I'll catch you guys and gals next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and maybe keep suggesting games to me, because I asked you what your favorites were, and I will catch you later. Bye, everybody, and have a good one.